Let me try to push that right there. We could put these in there if you want.
All right.
Alrighty. We're live, man. Well, welcome back everyone to Local Legends. This is a podcast about our local service professionals and people that have joined the One Book Pro app so that we can get them a little exposure on what you offer and hopefully get some bookings and people using the app more effectively.
Yeah.
So Joshua Roberts, Sunrise Inspections, you provide an awesome service. I honestly didn't even know this service existed. I mean, I'm not a homeowner myself, so
Yeah.
it's just like I never was pushed into that. But yeah, I think it's such a cool service and special service for people to know everything they need to know about their home before they make a purchase. If there's the after effects of a hurricane, but yeah, I want to start first by learning more about you personally. I know you're a veteran, but tell me about Joshua.
Well, Josh is a Florida native.
Okay.
And I was born and raised on the East Coast. Joined the Army when I was old enough to get in, and that was the best thing I ever did. I had a lot of fun. Ended up.
What was your job in the military?
No, I started in the infantry.
Wow.
That was an easy one to get into.
Yeah.
It was right after the Twin Tower stuff, so I wanted to get in and do my part. That sounded like the most fun. So I did that for 4 years, and then I went to selection with my roommate after we watched a commercial on TV about the special forces,
Yeah.
And we both made it, man. So that opened up a whole nother avenue, kind of turned into a career soldier. And I did my 20 years. I started in New York, then did the training in North Carolina. I was stationed in Germany, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And worked over there. We did a lot of work. I mean, just the work never stopped. After
I'm
that,
sure.
I came back to Colorado. I think we talked about that, right?
You were in Fort Carson?
Yeah. Fort Carson for 7 or 8 years. Busy, but I loved Colorado, man. I loved it over there.
Yeah. Do you live close by the base?
About 15 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
Easy drive.
Yeah.
Had an old truck. It was perfect.
Yeah.
I love the mountains, the trails, being next to the mountains.
Yeah. Right next to Pikes Peak and Manitou Springs, all that area.
Yeah, man. You know what?
It's
I was just there in May.
Yeah.
I went in May, and I was like, man,
I miss it.
It's freezing.
I mean, born and raised, yeah. I know, right? Even me, I get cold now. Even in Florida, I'm like, my body is
you've acclimated now.
Yeah,
You're one of us.
Yeah, I know. I'm a Florida man now, but yeah, that's awesome. So
Colorado and then here.
Okay.
So that's why I'm here.
So did you retire in Colorado, or did you come out here?
MacDill.
Okay, MacDill.
I retired out of MacDill.
Nice.
And I ended up staying.
Yeah.
I'm not from this side, but I like it over here.
What brought you down to St. Pete?
I like St. Pete.
Yeah.
I started coming down here, and it kind of grew on me a little bit. And this is where I call home. I tell everybody I'm stationed in St. Pete.
Yeah, that's right. St. Pete is amazing, man. Well, that's awesome, man. Thank you for your service, by the way. That's so amazing. 20 years is both. Me and my wife have a funny connection because both of our parents were helicopter pilots in the Army.
Really?
Yeah, just randomly, and they're like probably in the same area. They were in Germany, doing flight school out there.
Nice.
And so that's just a weird fun fact about.
We got a lot of respect for the pilots, man. They're always there. They always had our back.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've got some pictures.
I've got huge respect. I mean, I went to the Air Force Academy for 2 years, and then I transferred out. I wasn't going to be able to fly, and I was playing football, tore my ACL, and yeah, man, I decided I wanted to get into like business immediately and try to do some things.
Excellent.
And One Book came up eventually, but
yeah,
but yeah, I have so many friends that are still flying. You get out of the Air Force Academy, you commit to 10 years now once you're a pilot. So
yeah. I think it's great. A lot of those pilots, they get out and then they go commercial.
Yeah.
And they fly on the commercial airlines.
Yeah.
So people don't realize a lot of you could say thank you for your service to a commercial pilot, and they'll be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The academy is cool, man. I would go, I used to go out hiking on the academy.
Mm-hmm.
When they had ball games. I don't remember the name of the trail, but you could hike up behind it on top of that rock, and you could look down and see inside the stadium. But that it was really cool. We do it for the Jets because they do the flyover, and you
Yeah.
do just a little bit above them, and you can look down and see.
That
the
is so
Jets.
funny you say that because I used to hike the 14ers out there. I think I have 20 under my belt,
Nice,
and
nice.
I hadn't done Pikes Peak yet, and my wife was like, "I'll do one," So Pikes Peak was probably one of the harder ones to do, but
Yeah. Did you do
it
bar?
was full circle. Yeah, no, we did the back
The
end
crags.
crag
The
trail.
crags.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it kicked her butt, but it came full circle because I used to play, football, and on Pikes Peak it was Saturday morning, and same thing. We were up that high, and the Jets flew. It was
Yeah.
gives me chills still.
Nice,
It was
man,
so
yeah.
cool.
Really
But
cool.
but yeah, man, that's so cool. I'm glad you it's funny. I mean, St. Pete is, I consider it the Boulder of Florida. I mean, it's such a cool area. The community's super locally, just everybody wants to support
Yeah.
local, and
Yeah.
and that's why I think that One Book Pro is perfect to launch in a city like this, because it's everybody wants to help the
Yeah.
local small business.
I love
and-
the idea of One Book Pro, and I pass out your cards, man.
I know, you're the
everyone I
biggest
give,
support, man.
everyone I give them to, they're like, "This is great. This is a
Yeah.
great idea." So, hopefully, they're downloading the app, and I'll keep pushing it because I like it. I like the idea.
Well, tell them to use your email or your phone if they sign up, especially as a pro. You'll get. We're still doing that referral contest.
Oh
It
yeah,
hasn't had the best turnout, but yeah, we're trying as many things to grow this thing and get people like yourself booked more.
yeah.
But yeah, as far as your profession, let's talk about that a little bit. How did you get into home inspections?
Well, I had I was let's see. So I wanted to invest in real estate, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you the story. I was at the airport going back to the States for some training, and one of my colleagues' wives was there. She was flying back to Georgia to check on the rental properties, and we just started talking about rental property. I was like, seems interesting, So I was at a school for 4 months, and I was going to Georgia for frequency management.
Okay. Cool.
It's a good course, long course. As soon as I hit the ground, I
We
got with
skipped
an
over
agent.
that.
Yeah, there's a lot, man. It's a good
Yeah.
time. And he found me a house. I bought the house, and I was like, all right, cool. I'm an investor now. Yeah,
Mhm.
But it wasn't until years later I was like, wait a minute, I can, you can leverage money.
Mhm.
I learned about leverage and stuff like that. So I started buying more and more properties, and then working on them, and take them apart, put them back together. And then I came down here to Florida, and while I was at MacDill, somebody reached out to me about doing home inspections because it was really, really busy when those rates were low. People needed help in that job field. I was like, all right. So I got my license while I was still active duty, and I started doing it, when I could on the weekends, or if I had a free day or some time. And that's kind of how I got into it. And I knew a lot about houses already.
Mhm.
So I'm InterNACHI certified, so I just follow their standards of practice, and I go above those standards. I think most inspectors do. Just go in, knock it out, man. I was good at it.
What's your
and
typical home inspection look like? I guess
typically
what services do you provide?
we inspect it from the roof down to the foundation. I
Mhm.
check out the yard too, make sure there's no issues in the yard. Do the irrigation, the pool, detached structures. I start on the outside,
Mhm.
walk around all the outside. I'll get up on the roof. I'll check out the roof, and then I'll move it. Then I'll move it inside. Check out all the major appliances. We don't dive too deep. It's just a visual inspection
Mhm.
at the day of inspection.
Mhm.
So if something happens later, our inspection is like, hey, this happened. We inspect on the day.
Mhm.
This is what it looked like on the day of inspection. Things could happen later, but
Right.
here's your inspection on the day of inspection. And we don't take apart, the water heater or the HVAC or anything like that. We just check the basic functions, right? Just did a new construction yesterday.
Mhm.
There's no hot water in the house.
Wow.
Brand new house. Those guys need inspections too. I highly recommend it because I've been seeing a lot of stuff. But can you imagine moving into a house? You're like, I'll take my first hot shower, and then there's no hot water.
Yeah, exactly.
A few weeks ago, there was a new construction where the shower drains were totally clogged with construction debris.
Wow.
So can you imagine no hot water and then your water is just overflowing into your bathroom? So you always got to get those things checked, because oftentimes the building manager or whoever is not there, making sure that things get done in a manner. And you have all these different subs there, and they're like, this is my job only. I'm not responsible for this part.
Right.
And they just kind of, stuff slips through the cracks pretty easily. So
I've been watching your Instagrams. There's some funny stuff going on.
Man, I'm glad people are watching that stuff, and I'm glad people are getting a kick out of it. I was kind of terrified to start.
Yeah, I know.
Putting myself on video.
I know it. It's always. I still hate listening to my voice, and you kind of get you have to almost fall in love with yourself again. Just this is who I am.
Try to show people what we're looking at. Try to give them a little confidence in Sunrise. And home inspections are important, for any home. Definitely when you're buying a home, realtors will always tell you, get an inspection done. And you can do it even if you're not buying a home. You can always just get an inspection done to see what condition your house is in.
I need to get you out there. We're about to. We had some leakage in our roof. Everything seems fine because it was the siding. We have a flat roof in our back room, and the smallest crack from the siding into our other roof was so much water came in there during the storms. I mean,
man,
it rained. Rain was coming in every different direction.
My phone was ringing a ton.
I bet.
After that storm, a lot of water was coming on the roofs. The flat roofs, a lot where the slope will meet a flat. That's a big leak point. But your windows, your siding, if there's even just a little crack and you have that wind-driven rain, there's water going to come in your house. And a lot of people were anxious and nervous about this, and they're like, I'm like, you can't keep it out. I mean, condos with brand new hurricane windows and everything like that, it's still going to come in. It's sideways rain moving at 60, 80 miles an hour.
Water storm.
Yeah, you can't keep it out. So I tell them, it's a one-time thing. It's a big storm. You're going to get a little water and it'll dry out. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
What was the worst thing you heard from the hurricane on your end from a customer?
We had this guy reached out to me. He's like, no, my roof is leaking. It's pouring in. I was like, do you need me to refer you someone to, tarp it, seal it up temporarily until you get it fixed? He's like, no, I'm going to wait for the next rain and then have you come. I'm like, man, you should probably get it tarped. Or a roofer out there at least to give you a quote on a new roof, because you're going to get mold. If it goes on for a long time, it'll wear these, up here, you have these big exposed joists. It'll wear that stuff out
for sure.
And you'll lose the integrity of your structure. So if you have a leak, you got to get it fixed.
Yeah. No, I jumped up and at least did the caulking it, and it seemed to do the trick. But yeah, it's crazy, man. A lot of people, I mean, especially out here in the Tampa Bay, people kind of put it off like it wasn't going to be a big storm.
Yeah.
But it was serious. I mean, Sarah is going to come through us, but that's not going to be a hurricane at least. Yeah. So that would have been wild. But
if people sustain damage from the last storm and it rains a bunch, we may still see a lot of leaks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's where the thermal inspection comes in handy. We do thermal inspection with every inspection. It's included, right? And I'll never inspect without it. Now that I'm using this thing, I'm like, this is incredible.
Yeah. I
can see things behind the walls. You can see if the AC vents are all kind of reading the same temperature, if some are pumping cold air or hot air or no air.
Yeah.
It's a great tool to take through the house, take it in the attic with you. But sometimes people call and they're like, hey, I think I have a leak. Can you bring your thermal over? I'm like, yeah, I can bring it over. And after the storm, we didn't have rain for a long time. So what you started to see was it was harder and harder to find stuff in the attic because the attic dries out first and quickest. And then I would find it in the ceilings, and then the ceiling would dry out over time. And then lastly, you could still see it in the walls, but it's hard to pinpoint where it's coming from because it has been so dry.
Gotcha. It has been super dry.
Yeah.
It's been crazy.
That thermal's great. I think
I
people
saw
really like
a
it.
recent video of it, and then you have another temperature gauge that you put over
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Or-
So there's anomalies in in thermography.
yeah.
So we always want to confirm it,
Mhm.
with a moisture meter. If we think it's water,
Oh, okay, that was what it was.
we're
the
going to
moisture.
confirm and make sure, and then it goes in the report. So we don't just rely on the thermal, we confirm it with the moisture meter.
Gotcha. Is that I had this later down the line, but do you have another favorite tool, or would that be your favorite tool on the job that you use?
Oh man, that's the tool I use the most. The drone, the drone's a lot of fun. So I'm a licensed drone pilot.
Oh, awesome. That's so
And
cool.
I have the coolest drone in the world, and the drone has a thermal camera on it too.
Damn.
So I can
That's
scope
awesome.
the outside of the house and the roof with the thermal, which is helpful for finding out where you have some cool spots where water might be hanging out or seeping into the
Yeah.
house. Usually when I fly it, I'll take it up, and then like if I'm down here around St. Pete, I'll take a few shots of the city,
Yeah.
the skyline, the buildings and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
really
Those
cool.
drones are so cool.
I can always see the sunset too, So
Yeah.
I want to see the sunset. I'm not on the beach. I can just send
Yeah.
the drone up and snap some.
That's
good
awesome.
photos.
Was it hard to get your drone license?
No.
Yeah.
No, it's not too bad.
What do they do? Take you through like a course, like a driver's course?
There's an online course I took. I
Okay.
studied for like a week.
Yeah.
You just got to know the fundamentals.
Yeah.
It is a big deal when you're flying a drone, so I have to get approval before I do any flight.
Okay.
And then there are some areas here that are close to the airports. The closer you get to the airport, the lower you have to fly.
Mm.
Then when you're around the airport, there's no ceiling. You're not flying.
Yeah.
You can put in a request, but you're not going to get it in a timely fashion to do an inspection. So
How long do those take? Usually those
30 days, 45 days.
Wow.
Yeah, it can take a while.
Wow.
So we'll do our best if it's a roof we can't access.
Yeah.
Maybe binos, bust out the binoculars, try to get a better view at it, climb up on maybe a first layer of roof and take the ladder and get up on the second.
Yeah.
But we're not required to walk a roof.
Mm.
If the roof is not accessible or it's dangerous or it's wet,
Mhm.
Maybe there's rotting going on. We don't feel comfortable on the roof. We don't have to walk the roof. It's not
Yeah.
required.
That's cool. That would be my favorite tool as well.
Yeah, and it's
I always
great.
love asking and
It's
seeing.
great too because there's a community of people that fly the drone,
Yeah.
and if other people are trying to promote their business, I always offer it up. I'm like, we can get some really good drone footage, and I think that's
a service
That's
in its
right.
own.
Yeah.
I have some
It-
people
it
that
is,
literally
yeah.
just
Yeah.
they just fly drones for services and roofing companies, and it's just like a sub service basically,
Yeah.
right?
there's a lot you can do with it.
Yeah.
For sure. This one's pretty advanced. You can do mapping, you can do 3D
Wow.
modeling, you can do surveying of a property.
That's so cool.
It's really
Was that like you
Packed
just
with
bought the
technology.
package with that, or did you have to like add on to it?
that would be a software edition.
Okay.
And then just learning all that, but
Yeah.
it's not something I'm interested in doing. Right
Yeah.
now, but it's cool.
That's amazing.
Those things
I
are
know
neat.
those drones are what they can do with those things are insane. Like the drone light shows. Have you seen those?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That stuff is
Yeah.
so wild.
This is insane.
I know.
You don't need
It's
fireworks
scary.
anymore.
It's scary, but which is good in a way. So one of my other questions was, what's the outside of the hurricane one you just told me? Do you have like a wildest customer story that you saw on the job?
Wildest customer, man. You're looking for those wild stories, huh?
It's always fun.
I don't know. I think really it's just I like providing a great service to customers, and I like that they're happy.
Mhm.
I like that they use me, they like me, and then they trust me,
Mhm.
and then they refer me. And I think that's important. So, we used to say in the military, right time, right place, right uniform,
Mhm.
and we just do that. We follow the basic fundamentals of the inspection. I bring a little experience with me. I'm a licensed contractor in the state of Florida too.
Mm.
I think that helps. As we go through the house. But nothing too wild. I mean, you have anxious customers. It's a big deal when they're buying a house.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge deal,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And we try not to blow a deal for anybody. I mean, inspectors can go in a home and write up all kinds of things that really aren't that important, and and you put all that in the report, it can scare somebody, you know. So we don't want to be a nightmare inspector. We want to show them what matters the most in regards to their house, and walk them around the house, let them get to know the house. Like, here's your main water shutoff, here's your HVAC, here's how you change the filters. Make sure you change your filters. It'll make the unit last longer. Talking about drainage, getting things down and away from your home, because the water will destroy the home. Just getting them comfortable with it, you know, and I think that builds that trust, and that's what we like to see.
I love that, man. I mean, you're a straight up dude, and that's a great service for sure, is making people comfortable. And buying a home is scary. It's probably the biggest investment anyone's going to have in their lives. And it's the most important because it's where you're living, right?
That's right.
But, well, I appreciate that, man. Let's see. As far as like what we're doing at One Book, obviously we want to get you booked and get you connected. What else in your business could we do to help in any way, or make the product better so it can, make your business even more efficient?
I think with One Book Pro, it's just a matter of getting One Book Pro out to everybody, through these little podcasts that you're doing right now, social media, doing those collaborations, and then helping people understand it, So that's a question too for you. Like, how do you, in layman's terms, tell people what it is? Because I know that you went to the pitch the other day.
Yeah.
St. Pete pitch, and there's a realtor there, Tiffany, and she's like excited to know what One Book Pro does. So, like, in the quickest way possible, how would you describe it?
It's really a relationship tool, right? I think it's what we are trying to accomplish is really just be a one-to-one way of finding trustworthy people that can come and provide a service. Because right now it's so hard you got to go to Google, you got to go to Yelp, any of these review sites, you got to call your uncle, you got to call talk to your neighbor, and you have to jump through all these loopholes. We just want to, make it so much simpler and easier for you to find a verified local service professional and then book them when they're available.
Yeah. It's not always good to use your uncle's brother or whatever.
Right. And I've sent people someone that I trusted and they didn't get along, so it's this relationship side where you should be able to find, hey, I've got a plumber down my road, let me try him, and if he knows that you're their neighbor, when it comes down to service professionals, there are some amazing quality service professionals out there. And if you go to Google or any of these lead generation sites, you're not going to find them on there because they're word of mouth. Like, word of mouth is still the strongest tool and the best way to find someone. So I want to help those people, those guys in a truck, small family service businesses, just be more accessible, right?
That's awesome. People like that, I say, where you do a license check, you do insurance check, and you do a background check too, right?
Well, the two biggest ones is we do a personal background check, and then we do a business check. So if you have a business for what you provide and you're valid with the state, there's a lot of services where you don't need those certain licenses, but we'll guarantee licenses and insurances. So
people like when I say that.
Yeah.
So that's a big sell for it.
For sure.
And then the other question is, what's it cost?
It costs, so to be a pro on there, it's free to sign up. You can literally be on there without paying anything and start getting booked. So it truly can be used as a free tool. Our only cost for pros is if you want to become a member, which is a verification, and then we're there for support, for 24/7 support. So so really it's $65 for the year right now. So it will be a membership model. But our business model, the way it works is, instead of a lead generation tool or say, you go on to Home Advisor, Angie's List, you pay for a customer's info, you set a booking deposit. And so it could be $5, it could be $50. And that's what the customer pays to book with the pro of their choice, right? So if you set yours at $25 and I wanted to hire you, I'd pay you $25. We take 20% of that. So that's the only other thing that we take from the pros side.
You can
right?
set it at anything.
Yeah, you could
Sounds
set it
like
at 5, you could set it at 150,
Yeah.
and this is a common cost that people add, right? This is our drive out fee, $150 for, a mechanic
Yeah.
to come out. So
Yeah.
we just wanted to make that like a standard, and for the convenience of knowing exactly who's coming into your home to provide a service based on, how good their ratings are, what their prices are when they're available.
Yeah. How good their picture is.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, the picture goes a long way too,
Yeah.
even just knowing, not necessarily how good they look, but that that's the face that's coming to your door.
Yeah.
A lot of these times you'll call a company, like, you don't know who in the company is actually going to show up.
Yeah.
they're just going to show up.
Yeah.
So trust, the ability for a customer to know who they're going to trust is where that booking deposit comes in on the customer end. So we wanted to make it, as easy for the pro to make themselves accessible, and then for the convenience, the customer's paying, the same price, but just in a step further in the process.
Yeah.
I know that was.
Well, I think it's great.
I don't know
because
if I explained that very well.
You can set it at whatever. I think mine set at like $5 or something.
Yeah. So we did. We added a new limit. So you have to do $5 booking deposits before you can change it. So we wanted to make it not as high for those initial bookings, so that you can get booked through one book sooner.
Yeah.
So it's $5 for the first 5 bookings, and then you can change it whatever you want to.
Yeah. That's great, man. When I'm on the inspections, I do have a recommended contractor list in my software that's built in. So at the end of every report, say there was an issue with the AC, and I'll click a recommendation while I'm doing the defect, button. I can click HVAC contractor, plumbing contractor, irrigation guy. And at the bottom of my report, there would be 2 or 3 recommendations.
Okay, cool.
But there's so much more that goes into the house. Like that's what happens that day.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be great. Maybe I could just give a card at each inspection. So anything in the future you need, check out this OneBook Pro app.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just added, we're starting to add the referral list side of it too. So especially with a guy like you, is everybody that you recommend, people can go to your list, or you can share your list with a homeowner, and they can say, okay, these guys are definitely going to be straight up. So
That's cool, man.
So we're trying to be more of like the social referral side of, who's on these people's lists, who's on my uncle's list. I do.
Yeah.
People do trust it. That's probably the number one trusted source to stay up service professionals. But yeah, one other thing I like to ask is, for your customers, do you have any pet peeves of things that happened on the job that you just?
Yeah. So doing home inspections sometimes, and it goes out with my agreements. There's a little blurb. A lot of people don't read the agreements. Make sure things are accessible so that we can get to them. If the house is furnished, sometimes in the garage, stuff will just be stacked up everywhere in front of the electrical panel, and we got to inspect the electrical panel and take that cover off. And we need a workspace. I mean, you should have a clear space in front of your electric panel anyway, in case you have an issue with something in the house. You want to be able to get out there and shut those off. So you should always keep that clear as it is, but just access. I think that's the only real pet peeve.
That's a great tip for sure. Make sure those guys can get in and do their job. Otherwise, we'll just throw your stuff down or whatever they have to do to get to it. And then, do you have a number one home tip for homeowners, for people to take care of their homes?
Man, I think down here right now with the storms we've had is just helping people understand, if your windows have been caulked, you got to keep up with that stuff every couple of years, the
Mhm.
caulk will get dry, it'll deteriorate, and then you can get water in there. So once that caulk's on there, you got to maintain it.
Mhm.
So every couple of years, and you need to remove it and put new sealant around your windows, or
Mm.
if you have minor cracks in the foundation, and you have that elastomeric caulk, that's the best kind because it expands and contracts. Because your house expands and contracts with the
Mm.
heat and the cool and everything. You just got to make sure you're checking on that stuff and keep that water out.
Yeah,
You know.
it can be a nasty thing.
Yes, it's been hard.
It's a
A lot
beautiful
of
thing,
people.
but a nasty thing at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how water in the house makes people so anxious. And they get so worried because then they think mold. It's the first thing they think. Oh my gosh, what do I
Yeah.
do? And we tell them, if you are
Get
so
someone
concerned
out.
about it, we recommend, our a licensed mold professional to come out.
Yeah,
If you really want to get it checked.
I love it, man. Well, thanks for the tip. Thanks for joining me. Last question I've got for you is: do you have a favorite St. Pete local spot?
Yeah, I was thinking about this on the way in. 'Cause I
Okay.
was running late. And I wanted to stop there.
Yeah,
The Black Crow.
Black Crow.
Black Crow Coffee Shop,
Yeah,
man.
that's a cool spot.
Yeah, that place is awesome, and I love the coffee.
Yeah,
And they've got like muffins and cookies and stuff like that. They're
I'm
just
a sucker
they're
for
great.
pastries, man.
Oh my gosh. I love that place.
Have you been to the Crumb Factory?
No.
Dude, you have to try that one out. It's
All right.
on Central, like 58th.
All right.
That's my go-to.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. I'll
But
check
yeah,
it out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate you doing this, man. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Ian,
If you're in St. Pete and you need your home inspected, you know who to call.
Sunrise.
Sunrise Inspections.
That's right.
Right on, man.
Thanks
I
for having
appreciate
me. Appreciate it.
you. Right on.
Perfect timing, man.